options, because I would like them re-evaluated.
Would you like to expand on
okay, yeah, no, I thought I was waiting to see if anybody else wanted to talk about page 89. Okay, so I'm concerned about the options, and I'm concerned about the questions, and I would like the officers to reappraise them in the same way that they were going to with regards to housing, tenure and affordability mix. Option 2 is really like a horse being led by its nose, in that external funding will then determine where infrastructure spend goes. Whereas I would like us in this consultation to be asking our residents where they want the interest, where they consider the greatest deficit is at this juncture. I don't want them to be led by the nose in that EM3 decides that they want to raise money from Her Majesty's government to do ABC, when actually they're just one of the consultees, and the residents are important, if not more important than EM3 and access to funds. So at the moment, I feel that it's too led by external forces, and I think it's too high level. It needs to go down a level, and we need to ask residents where they perceive and believe or experience infrastructural deficits, and then how to access the funds, not have it the other way around.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Cubitt. I've got Councillor Conesco next, please.
Thank you very much. Yes, I'd like to also echo my concerns with the options. And actually, option 1 is the one I picked up on, which starts continue to plan for the timely provision of infrastructure by working with service providers. That, to me, when I read it, implies that currently there aren't any issues, and things could continue on as they are now. And there are a number of examples to suggest that isn't the case. We talk about broadband in 11.1.5. I've had a case earlier on this year where we had a new street built in Brighton Hill, middle of last decade, so it's about 5 or 6 years old, and it was built without any broadband access at all. And the residents have spent the past 5 years fighting with a developer, trying to get him to install that broadband for them, and they finally got that done earlier on this year, just ahead of the lockdown. So the timing was very good. But that option 1 suggests that everything is already rosy and we'll just continue to do what we are now, and that's not always the case.
Okay, Councillor Laura James, please.
I'd like to echo the concerns that people have about these options, and again, in relation to some of the words like timely, I think they're dangerous words, and we get and I think I just want to remove anything like that, because it's sort of, what does timely mean? Does it mean 5 years after a development has been delivered, or what? What's your interpretation of timely? We all have views on that. So I think we have to be much clearer as to what we mean by those things. Can I just also ask about could you tell me about the leisure and recreational needs assessment, and possibly could someone send me the details on that piece of work that's going on? I'll just ask on who's doing that piece of work.
Sorry, Councillor James, you broke up in the last 5 seconds. You said to send you you wanted information on the leisure and recreational needs assessment, and then something else as well.
It was just who's doing that piece of work at the moment, and how would I find out a bit more about that?
Matt might be able to come in a bit more on this, but we are commissioning work on that, so that work's not completed yet. So the brief has gone out on that, and consultants will be taken on to do that bit of work. Once that's completed, we can feed back the conclusions of that. That'll take a few months to complete.
Who's determined the terms of reference, and how do we as a committee get to see that in relation to what that's going to shape and what it's going to look like?
I think it's the same for all the bits of evidence base, really. I mean, they're technical documents. What we have done where members are interested in particular topics, we've sent the briefs round for them to have a look at. So we can do that if you're particularly interested, so you can have a look at the terms of reference on it.
I think it would be good if all members on these committees get to see these terms of reference. If they then choose to read them or not, it's up to them. But I think it's useful in relation to this planning committee that we see the terms of reference on these supporting documents that are taking place, really.
Okay, if you can arrange for that to happen, Joe and Matt, that would be wonderful. Okay, I've got a Councillor Gary Watt, please.
Thank you, Chair. On the questions, we all know we have a large deficit for infrastructure monies. We should be honest with the residents. We have a limited pot. What are your priorities, Mr. Resident? You know, let them give us the priorities. These questions are very, you know, I've read them twice and I can't really get my head around them. I think we should just say we have a limited pot. What are your priorities? Obviously, going to be highways and GP surgeries and schools, and that's going to be their priorities. Looking at the recreational needs, I mean, there is a big gap in this whole document. It's the football club. I mean, Basingstoke Football Club. We got an interim measure for them to continue at Winklebury. In the Horizon 2050 document, we look to move Basingstoke Football Club to a like-to-like stadium they're playing at the moment, but there is no provision in this whole document for this, and this goes up to 2038. This is the local plan. We should be identifying a site for the football club to look for like-for-like stadium. If we're not going to commit to that, we should commit as a council to, as the current site where it is, cameras for them to continue. So I think it's quite an explicit question for this council, really. What are our visions for the football club beyond the next couple of years, just to stabilise and getting them back to playing to Basingstoke? Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Watts, thank you very much. Councillor Miller.
In another life, I sort of drafted out and helped produce strategic documents. And one error that we learnt very early on was identifying, and I'm looking at para 11.1.5, where we use all the right words of important to plan the timely delivery utilities, power, water supplies, comms technology, including broadband. Please don't mention 5G. 5G is a specific technology. You commit yourself to 5G and it doesn't appear, bearing in mind the recent, how can I put it, decisions that have been made. Communications in general, great. Broadband in general, great. But identifying a specific subset of that technology, you're asking for trouble. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Miller. Councillor Cubitt, please.
Thank you. Sorry, if I could ask a question of the officers, just in relation to provision of utilities. There used to be this requirement that all the utility providers could only give one answer, and the answer was yes, because they had a legal obligation under their provisions. And I just wonder whether you could update the members as to whether that still exists, so that when we ask Thames Water or South East Water, can you handle the sewage, they always have to say yes. And can you handle the supply of water required for the additional population? They've always had to say yes, because that's the terms of reference of them being allocated the utility, the functioning of the utility. Does that still stand? And could you talk me through the Grampian clause?
Thank you, Councillor Cubitt. Just before you actually answer that, Joe, Councillor Waldridge, can you please move your agenda paper away from the camera? Thank you very much. Okay, yeah, Joe, if you'd like to Give us the clarification, please.
I think Ruth might be better placed to answer it, but as far as I'm aware, yes, that is the case with utility providers. That's always been the starting point for us. But Ruth might be able to say more about Grampians and such like.
Well,
Ruth.
I mean, in relation to utility providers, that's the reason why they have their 5-year plans, and it's necessary for them to actually deliver the infrastructure based on what they receive from Treasury in their forward planning process. So I think that the answer is it's a yes, but I think is what the answer is, Councillor Onley, in that they actually have to provide the infrastructure, but it's based on their terms and the timing and delivery of specific infrastructure. Grampian conditions, you must have something specific that you have in mind, because as you probably, you are aware that there's only limited reasons and terms in which we'd ever use a Grampian condition. You must have a specific site or project in mind when you're asking that question. So there's nothing more that I can really add to that, unless you're willing to give me some context to the question.
So, yes, so the context is in relation to provision by utility. So thank you very much for that answer, Ruth. When we went through our local plan last time round, all three, I think I'm correct in stating, all three water providers stated that they could not meet the requirements of our plan. I've got copies of those submissions from three, South East, South West and Thames. They then resubmitted. I don't know whether somebody told them that actually they couldn't state that they couldn't meet the local plan, because what they said in their submissions, their initial submissions, was that our plan was not sound because they could not meet the requirements. They then resubmitted and acknowledged and said they could meet them. But I recall that they claimed the Grampian clause in relation to the sewerage and the sewage from the Thames water. My point is not to get specific, but purposefully, it's just that all the time we talk about meeting the needs required for the infrastructure that will result from an increase in population. And the great big elephant in the room is we know that the water providers at the moment are unable to meet the water source, which if you look at the water resource plan of middle 2000s, was that they were going to pipe water from Kent. They're going to have a reservoir. I think I made references last time. So it's all great, but the monitoring and the implementation and the honest answer, not the answer's always yes, has to be factored into and be a central part of how we can ever meet number 11. Because if all the utilities always have to say yes, but they actually mean to say no, then we're going to witness water rationing. And I don't think our residents will ever forgive us if they're made to reduce their consumption, which is already greatly reduced, to an even greater reduction.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anybody else that wants to say anything on page 90? No? Okay, so let's move on to page 91, facilities and services. Excuse me. Has anybody got anything to say on here? No? Okay, that's great. Okay, that's one, that's 91. And finally, final page, 92. Has anybody got any comments on making provision for community facilities? No? Okay. Right, members, thank you very much. Okay, I'm sorry it's a bit hard going, but I think it was good to get through that. Okay, I've got Councillor Conesco.
Thank you, Chair. No, it's not specifically related to page 92, but can I just say, given how much time has been put into this, yeah, this is, I think we're into our 6th hour now across those the 2 meetings, and there's 20 of us on this call, so a phenomenal amount of time and effort has gone into this. Please, 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 can we make an effort to consult properly? There's a mention at the start of this document that most of the consultation will be done online. And I completely recognise the reasons for that, but my concern emerges from the fact we've just had the consultation for the Brighter Hill roundabout upgrade project. which was done online only. That was done by Hampshire County Council, and their consultation consisted of one web page with a 10-page PDF attached to it, and a few local residents receiving one letter about the consultation. Given how important this is, given how much time we've put in, given the impact it's going to have, please can we consider doing more than just sticking up a web page with these questions on? Can we look at doing things like holding webinars, whether they're live or pre-recorded? Please can we give residents an opportunity to ask questions, perhaps sort of via Q&A chat function. The great thing about doing consultations online is that we've got all this brilliant new technology that we can use, that we're currently using in order to maximise the benefit and really get the answers we want. And that's just a request to the portfolio holder to please consider that when we do actually go out to consultation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Canesco. Okay, Councillor Gavin James.
I just wanted to, on a similar point, thank the officers, well, maybe apologise or thank, I don't know, they can take whatever they want from it, for the amount of hours that we have spent on this. The good news is, as the local plan goes on and the update goes on, we do get much worse. And I just think you should appreciate that at this early stage. We can go on for years if we need to, but thank you for your time and effort. And please, as we go through these things throughout, it's not a criticism of your work or efforts, it's because it's something we're very passionate about and it fills our inboxes. So thank you, officers, for dedicating another evening to supporting us.
Okay, officers, thank you very much. Okay, we've formally given feedback on the document. The only thing we have now is to quickly go through the work programme. Okay, it's a little light. Okay, I've been trying to bring through updates to the infrastructure delivery plan and proposals for SIL spend, okay, from Mark. Okay, but he's basically told me that he won't be able to have the reports ready until our November meeting. September meeting, I will be looking forward to bringing back the task and finish group. Okay, after I've got formal clarification from officers, and then the only other thing that we have at the moment is the task and finish group held. That was to review the planning on policy SS9. Okay, I basically the position, as I understand it, remains as of the 4th of September. Okay, so as soon as notice of we're able to discuss it, I will get that out and we'll get that into the work programme. So it just leaves me to say thank you very much to members. Okay, for tonight. It's been a bit of a grueling marathon effort over the past 2 meetings, and
Chair, Councillor James has her hand raised as well.
Oh, I beg pardon, Councillor James. Councillor James.
I don't know if I missed it, but could you tell me where we are on the management companies and parking and that document that came to our last meeting?
Yeah, you did miss it. I said I'll be bringing it back in September. Okay, once I've got formal clarification, okay, of the points that were raised. Okay, Councillor Cubitt.
Sorry to be a nuisance. In relation to the Mark Lambert infrastructure delivery plan, did I understand you correct that we're going to discuss it in November? Because the last time I sat on an infrastructure delivery plan, we were 300 million short on our shortfall of delivery that we were required, and that was our deficit. And I don't believe we've had a meeting since I've been on this committee since that 300 million identified deficit, and it keeps on being delayed. So is that a definite?
No, I think you're right, Councillor Cubitt. I think it's the transport strategy and infrastructure, isn't it, Councillor Frost, that we were going to discuss in November?
Yeah, it's also the delivery plan that's part of the infrastructure delivery plan. So it is actually all part and parcel, along with the cycling study. Hello, Sadie.
Yeah, that was for November, he said, I think, yes.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Chair, I think we might just need to seek some clarification on that because I think they might be two separate reports. So could we just get some clarification and get that back to you?
Then I'll forward that out to everybody. Okay, so if we can get a clarification in the next couple of days, okay, then I will send it out to everybody.
So yeah, Mr. Chairman, I know there's a confusion, and I know I haven't seen an infrastructure or had a debate for a very, very long time, and I know that it's not going to be pretty reading, and I know that we as a committee want to have a look at it. So okay, let's talk about cycle delivery and etc., etc. But I want to see the document that I saw, and I'm sure other members would like to see, where it identified all the infrastructure deficit and the financial implications of the deficit. And I don't know when it happens, but I'd like it to be before the end of the year. And I don't want it to be blurred in with the transport and the cycle study.
Okay, your point's been taken, Councillor Cubitt, but it will probably be on the same evening as the other two. But that's where we are. So Mark has told me that he can't do anything before November. So that's where we are. But we'll seek clarification, okay, and then I will issue it out to everybody. Okay. Any other comments? Any other questions? Okay. All right, thank you very much, members. It's been lovely to see you all again. Okay, and I look forward to seeing you either next council meeting or hopefully in our council offices if we ever get back in there. Okay, so anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, officers.